Hi, Carrie Nygaard here. I'm going to tell you today how you can use brain science and what we know about your brain to move from where you are at right now with your body and food and move to a place that's going to better sustain you. First, let me start you out by understanding a little bit about your brain. The 10%, actually less than 10% of your thinking is conscious. Over 90% of your thoughts are automated thoughts that have been programmed in there that are operating, just like parts and different systems of your body are automatic, like your digestion happens, your circulation happens without you having to make it happen. And just like your muscles, you have to voluntarily think about doing it. There are thoughts that you think that are voluntary and thoughts that you think that are involuntary because they're automated. They're programmed in there by society, by your upbringing, by your training. And these thoughts are going on subconsciously in your mind. And these thoughts, because they're over 90% of your thinking, create in great part the results that you have in your life. Therefore, it's really important that we become conscious of this unconscious thinking that's going on. Our brain is thinking thoughts all the time. Our brain is always connecting meaning to the world around us, always. And it does that in sentences or in thoughts. Some people see these things in images as well. But regardless, our brain is always attaching meaning to the world around us. And the quality of your life is only as good as the quality of the meaning that your brain is attaching to the things in this life. For example, any relationship that you have is only as good as the thoughts that you've attached to that relationship. A relationship could have all the check marks of a positive relationship, but unless your thoughts agree and think the same thing about it, it won't be a quality relationship. A relationship could also be rotten and check all the boxes for being toxic, but your thoughts about it are wonderful and great. Therefore, your experience about it is different. That's the meaning that your brain has attached to it. It is no different when it comes to your relationship with food or your relationship with your body. Your thoughts create the emotions that you have. Therefore, it creates what you're going to experience. Let me tell a little bit more about what I mean. When I look outside, I can look at the weather and I could say, it's a beautiful day outside. And that is the meaning that my brain is attached to the day. Therefore, that is the emotion that I attach to the day. And it is also the way that I will experience the day because I've decided that it's beautiful. But that is not a fact. That is only a thought. A thought is just a sentence of meaning that creates emotions and results in our lives. That's it. It changes the way that I feel about the day. It changes the way that I experience the day. But it's a beautiful day is just a thought. Let me talk a little bit more about food. If you have a thought, let's say chocolate, lots of us have lots of feelings and thoughts around chocolate. Chocolate is completely neutral. It exists in the world. That's a fact. And everybody has different thoughts about it. I've known people that don't like chocolate, so they don't think much about it at all, or they think, yuck, I don't want it. A lot of us think I love chocolate or I want chocolate, right? Give me some of that. All of these thoughts are not fact. They're just thoughts that your brain has attached to the chocolate. And these thoughts create emotions. Emotions are created from our thinking. The chocolate didn't create the desire to eat it. Your thought about it created it. Your power and the way you experience your life has very little to do with the circumstances of your life and everything to do with the meaning that you have allowed your brain to attach to the circumstances of your life. We've learned that over and over and over again, both, interpersonally, individually in our lives, and then also as a broad, as humanity. Our life and the quality of it is created by the way we think about it. Now, thoughts are just thoughts. They're not facts. Our brain gets confused about this. Our brain thinks that our thoughts are fact. And so our conscious thinking that happens in our prefrontal cortex, the front part of our brain, we have to consciously watch the thinking that's going on in our brain. All of your thoughts are not you. You're not your thinking. So much of your brain is just automated, programmed thoughts that are happening automatically. And the way that we change that automation, those thought automation, is by becoming conscious of what's in there. There's lots of skills and tools that we can use. There's lots of things that I do with my clients and in my Freedom with Body and Food program, where I help women come out of diet mentality and into wholeness and completeness and release weight from a place of love and abundance, and by using brain science. So let's say that you have several thoughts bundled together about food, and that creates your story about food. And your brain tells you this story because you've practiced it so many times. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you my own personal example of what I used to believe about food. I used to believe that I just love food. I just love it. I love it so much that I can't buy it and bring it in the house, or I can't control myself around it. I'm going to have to give it to my husband to hide. And when I go to functions, if I decide to eat a little bit, well, it's going to be a lot. I'm either all in or all off. I got an on-off relationship with food. I love it or I hate it. Can't control myself. And I love sugar. Got a sugar tooth. Got a sweet tooth. These were all these thoughts, and they come together to create a story that I have about food. That's all the meanings that I've attached to food. And it created emotions like feeling stuck, like feeling out of control, like distrust with myself. And when I'm feeling self-distrust rather, and when I'm feeling, disappointed, when I'm feeling hopeless, when I'm feeling out of control, these emotions fuel actions that do not help support a good relationship with food. Okay. If I'm always thinking these thoughts, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to continue to have a poor relationship with food. Let me give you another example from my past. I used to believe about my body. She's pretty great. I mean, she's allowed me to do a lot of wonderful things in my life, but really she would be amazing. And I'm really going to appreciate her so much more when she looks like this. And once this happens, then she's really going to be great. These types of thoughts, they're not facts. They're just thoughts. This type of programming, this type of thoughts that I had attached to my body, caused me to view my body kind of in an objective way, as an object. Not only that, but it led to feelings of, right, like not being fully appreciative. There was some gratitude and some appreciation there, but it was also conditioned. It wasn't unconditional. It was like conditional. Like, can you imagine if we were to say that to our children, like, you're great and all, but you'll be really great when you start cleaning up your room appropriately. I'll love you even more when you do these things without being asked. That would be a toxic relationship. Yet that's what's happening with our bodies. And that's what I was doing with my body. It was this kind of covert. I wasn't full out saying, oh, I hate my body. I used to say, oh, I have problem areas. That's like telling my body she's a problem. So I had all this bundle of stories around my body, and it led to me feeling like my body wasn't the way she was supposed to be. Therefore, I was rejecting my body, at least in part. No good relationship in this life exists upon distrust and rejection, right? And so it was no wonder that I struggled with food and with my body. Hello, look at all the thoughts that I had about food in my body. The big change happened when I started loving my body unconditionally. And I did that by changing my thoughts around my body. So the brain believes, this lower brain believes whatever it has the most evidence to support. Have you ever known something, but you just couldn't buy into it? Like your brain, you're like, I know that I should do these things, or I know that this is true, but my brain doesn't quite believe it. Well, this is what you need to know. Your brain, your lower brain, will believe whatever it has the most or compelling evidence to support. So your brain, my old story about my body was supported by evidence. I used to use evidence like my body wasn't the way she was supposed to be, because my body is supposed to be a size whatever, right? Insert size 4 or 6, whatever it was. My body is supposed to weigh this much. My body is supposed to look this specific way. My butt is supposed to look this way. My arms are supposed to look this way, right? And so when I was doing all of this expectation, I was rejecting what is. But when I got rid of all of that and just accepted her completely, fully right now from a place of abundance, from a place of deep appreciation and deep gratitude and love, withholding no love from her, my thoughts began to change. such as my body is exactly what she needs to be in this moment. She's everything that she needs to be. And this was what one thought that really changed for me. In fact, 7, 8 years ago, when I started changing my thoughts about my body, there's a lot of aha moments. But one thing that I did that helped facilitate this change was I set an alarm on my phone to go off 4 times a day. And it would tell me this little affirmation would pop up. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be in this moment. And when I would think that, or when I would see that and I'd read that, I would feel the emotion of full acceptance. So I would think a new thought and I would feel that emotion, so that I was creating a new thought emotion chain in my mind. I was creating a new pattern in my mind in connection with myself and my body. I did this with food. I used to think, oh, I can't trust myself around food. And I had all this evidence to support it. Well, I started to create new evidence to support it. Your brain believes whatever it has the most evidence to support. Therefore, what I would do is I would create evidence on purpose. I used to think I couldn't control myself around chocolate chips. So then I really got very mindful around chocolate chips, and I practiced just putting a couple on the counter and letting them sit there with me for a few hours before I would eat them. And then I would then I'd put them out on the counter, and I'd spend half a day. And I'd spend a whole day. And then I would just eat one chocolate chip and let a few stay there. And I would practice being with chocolate chips to produce evidence for my brain to believe that I can be completely in control with chocolate chips. And there was other things that I did, but those were some of them. And by going through using brain science about what we know about the brain, I was able to go through and create evidence for my brain to fully believe a new set of stories and thoughts that come together to create a story around my body, and a new set of thoughts that create a new story about how I interact or my relationship with food. That's how that works. Your thoughts are not facts, but your brain creates all these thoughts together to create a story around different elements in your life. And the quality of your relationship with your body, and the quality of your relationship with food is directly connected to the quality of the meaning, this bundle of thoughts that you have around each of these things in your life. These are not facts. You can change them. It is not chocolate. It is not your pant size. It is not your past behaviors with food that are the fact. I guess there's some facts in there, but that is not the circumstance is the food. The circumstance is the body, and everything else is your thoughts that you connect to it. Your past behavior is now just your circumstance. What do you want to think about it now? So I used to diet a lot. That's the circumstances. I used to diet. I did many diets in the past. I could number them out. Okay. That's the circumstance. And now I used to think there was something wrong with me because I had done all those diets in the past. There's something wrong with me. That's why I did the diets. I never could get it together. But now I know, and now I believe that my past, this is my current story that I have changed about my past with food and body and dieting, is that I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be now. And I was exactly who I was supposed to be then. And that struggle became my invitation to lean in and expand and grow as an individual. So this thing that was a struggle in my life, this weight that was a struggle for almost as long as I can remember, from the time that it was not even in puberty, feeling shame about my body, thinking I had to change my body to be different. That this very struggle that I had for over 20 years, actually, I have deep gratitude for it, because it became an invitation for me to grow and expand. The problem with dieting is that we strive to grow and expand, but we do it the wrong way. We try to do it from feeling inadequate or feeling powerless or feeling insufficient. Those type of emotions and the thoughts that create those type of emotions do not create the internal framework to support a long-term change. Sure, you might release some fat off your body for a period of time. But in order for you to release fat off your body and for it to be just who you are, you have to change the internal framework of your thoughts and your emotions. Sometimes this might feel impossible. How on earth can I do that? I'm so practiced at doing this. Once you know a few things about your brain and leverage it, it actually gets a lot easier than you might think. Thanks for tuning in. In the description, I'm adding a link for my workshop that I'm actually giving next week. It's free. It's here online. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.